Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 198, and I am Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry and Instagram, and occasionally Plurk. Not very often, though. I don't get to Plurk very often anymore. Anyway, hi, how are you? Today is Thursday, April 21st. It's vacation minus 2 days, people, and I will give you the warning now. My brain is already there. It's already, if it's not at the beach already, it's at least at the airport. It has been this way for the past few days. Focus has been hard this week. But I'm trying to plug on. Actually, I was really good the first part of the week, first couple days, because I had specific things I needed to finish and get done work-wise before I left. But I finished them Tuesday. And so ever since, it's been like, whoo-hoo, my brain's done. I'm gone. And yet there are still a lot of things that I need to accomplish between now and when I leave this weekend. Not necessarily work stuff per se, but like other stuff that's important. I just need to find some focus. So anyway, let's continue. Nobody introduced themselves in the welcome thread specifically this past week, but I will just say hello and welcome to anyone who is new to the podcast. Thank you for coming and checking me out here. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you to everyone who comes back faithfully on a fairly regular basis. It's great to have you too. And yeah. I feel like I have more 10% stuff for you this week than I do 90%. Oh, I'm sorry. Now I'm going to get a tickle in my throat. And the one time I don't bring water in or anything to drink. Okay. Hopefully I cannot. I'm going to try not to cough. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I feel like I have more non-knitting content this week possibly than actual knitting content, but I do have some, so we're going to start and see where it goes or where it doesn't go. But anyway, I do have a finished object to show you this week. It's actually a fairly unexpected finished object if you've been watching recently, but it is finished nonetheless. And it is my lefty shawl. Yes, I finished it. And you may wonder, how in the world did you finish that so quickly? You still had 5 leaf sections to do, stripes and leaves, as the last time we saw this last week. And you said they were taking so long. Well, yes, they were. But I made the executive decision yesterday morning to quit after 26 instead of going all the way to 30. But here's my reasoning, okay? So oh, wrong end, sorry. Here's where I started. So it started with this purple. Gosh, come here. Okay, it started with this purple and then worked its way down through this like violet, this blue, this turquoisey green, and then this green. Okay, so 5 colors. And I had gotten up to 25 the last time you saw it. So I had done that color sequence 5 times, and I had wanted to do 30, so that would have been doing it 6 times. But as I was doing this, I kept thinking, I'd really like to end on this purple rather than end on the green. I don't know why, it just felt like a nice way to kind of bookend the stripe sequence or something. It was just one of those things that was kind of like a feeling, like I feel like that would be the right thing to do. Well, after I was working on the 26th, which was the purple, because I was starting the sequence over. I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, whereas 30 stripes and leaves didn't seem so bad, doing that 31st one just suddenly felt horribly excessive. And I thought, nope, not doing that. So that, coupled with the fact that as I was knitting this, even though I could not stretch it out the full width while it was on the needles, because I tried and I kept losing stitches and it was very frustrating, I knew how long it was going to be. I mean, I knew it was going to be long enough at 25. I could have stopped at 25. I even said that last week. So I just made the decision I was going to stop at the 26th. And so I did end on that pretty purple. which I'm very happy with that decision to have done that. And I know you can't see it, and there's no way for me to show you how wide this is in general, but here's one end, and here's the other end, and like there's still another probably a foot after my wingspan. So this is probably at least 6 feet wide, right? Because I'm 5'4". I'm 64 inches, so that would be 76 inches. I don't do math. My brain is on vacation, remember? So yeah, it's like over 6 feet wide. It is plenty long enough, or long enough, I guess, not wide enough. At any rate, I'm very happy with it. Now this is a Martina Bem pattern. You know, she's the one who does all these awesome, cool, kind of elongated shawls. Okay, where's the other end? I wanted to show this on. I'm never entirely sure how to wear her shawls because they are different. There's the one with, okay. So, all right, this is not how I would wear it, but just to give you an idea. I mean, look, it wraps around crazy awesomely. And this is basically how I do wear her stuff, is like more as a neckerchief kind of thing. This isn't how I had it on yesterday when I was playing with it, but it doesn't look bad this way. Yeah, so I'm really happy with it. Again, the white was just my Fiber Nymph Bounce base, undyed, and the 5 colors were a Nidian color block set, pretty much the same base as my Bounce, so yeah. Weight-wise, I weighed it, and figuring it out based on yards per gram, I used about 635, I think. I have it on my project page. About 635 yards for the whole thing. So it's a pretty decent yarn user. The one thing, I have not blocked it yet, and the only thing that needs to be blocked, because it's garter, I just want to block it so that my leaves are a little bit more pointed, because some of them are kind of curling under, but I'll block that out. But that's not happening before I go on vacation, because there's no reason for it to. I'm not taking it on vacation. Anyway, the only thing I found at the end after I had it done and I had it laid out on my couch to take a picture, I found a dropped stitch. I don't know if you remember me showing you a couple weeks ago, maybe, whenever I showed it, I said, oh yeah, I have this really loose stitch here, kind of in the middle, right smack dab in the middle of it, and it was in a white section. And I thought it was just like a loose stitch where my tension was off or something when I was knitting in that spot. But then as I was looking at it when it was sitting on the couch, I realized it was actually a loose, like an uncaught stitch. I had dropped a stitch. So I did take just a piece of scrap yarn, the white, and I wove it in, tied it off, or hooked it, caught it. Me and the words were not working well today. I'm sorry. But I caught it, and then I just wove it in on the back. You cannot even see it, so I'm not at all worried about it. Garter stitch is very forgiving when you have to do things like that. But otherwise, I am super happy with that. It's so nice and light colored. It's bright with those leaves. I think it's going to make a really nice sort of transitional piece, spring, even into fall. Yeah, I'm thrilled with it, and I'm glad to have it done, because that was a big project, and I've been working on it for a couple of months. So I'm happy that it's finished. Yay. And let's hear it for 26 segments instead of 31. It's good. Alrighty, so I did that. That's the only finished object I have, but I did make some progress on my Atalaya shawl, or Atalaya. I keep hearing it pronounced different ways. I call it Atalaya. Anyway, actually this morning, when you saw it last week, I was right. I did put the stitch marker in here. I think I had just done the first 2 rows of this third contrast color. So I finished this section. So this is the second brick section, and that's with the raspberry color. This is also my yarn, Fiber Nymph Dye Works. This is my cozy base, my superwash worsted. So the colors I'm using are dark brown, which was my first section, taupe, which was my first contrast color, and then raspberry is my, I guess, second contrast color, not third contrast color, but it's the third color in the shawl. So anyway, I really love the raspberry, and I can't wait to see what it looks like once these other two colors are back in it below it, because this raspberry stripe is going to be that one big one that you'll really see. It's like the showcase stripe of the shawl. But anyway, I did finish that section this morning. So that means I will do another drawing for a pattern a little bit later in the podcast, because I'm doing that every time I finish a section of the shawl. And so then the next section will be the full raspberry, the basket weave in raspberry. That, however, will probably not get any work on it until after I'm back from vacation. I have not yet decided what knitting I'm taking with me. It's odd. Usually my knitting is the first thing that I pack, but this trip is very different because I know I'm not going to have very much knitting time. I know, a vacation without knitting time, probably my flights. That's going to be the most knitting time I'm going to have, because once we're down there, we have got activities planned out the wazoo. It's going to be a really fun but very active vacation. So anyway, yeah, I don't know what I'm taking, but I'm definitely not taking anything huge like that. Anyway, so that'll probably just sit around until I get back from my trip. But at least I made a little bit of progress on it. And then I've got 2 socks on the needles. They're the ones I showed you last week, and I did make decent progress on each of them. The first one is the sock that I am knitting out of the Neely's Knits Baby You're a Firework colorway. This is on her Super Sock base. And it's not a vanilla sock, but it's... What's the matter, Muffin? Muffin's tapping around in here, if you can hear that. She's been such a pest lately. Oh my goodness, what? What is wrong? You know, I don't usually have a dog coming in here, but I'll pick her up. Come here. You want to say hi? Oh, yes. This is Muffin. Muffin has not made a cameo on the podcast in a very, very long time. She's usually out in the other room, although I often have the door closed when I'm recording. She's my neurotic little miniature schnauzer who has not been on my happy list lately, and I'll tell you more about that later too. But anyway, okay, I'm going to put you down now because I can't do anything holding you. Okay? All right. You need to get down. You can sit under my desk though if you want. I don't know. She doesn't know what she wants to do. Anyway, sorry about that. Sock. Okay, so this is just my own pattern that I'm doing. It's, I forget what I was calling it. It's a 3x1 rib, but it's a, staggered. I was calling it a staggered 3x1 rib because I'm doing 8 rounds of 3x1, knit 3, purl 1, and then I do 8 rounds where I shift it over 2 stitches. So I do knit 1, purl 1, and then the knit 3, purl 1. And so that's how I've been doing it. So the last week when you saw it, I don't actually remember where I was now that I think about it. I may have been to the heel flap. I'm just doing a regular heel flap and gusset. I don't remember where I was. However, I've done that. I did the heel flap, heel turn. All the gusset decreases are done, so now I'm just working straight on the foot. I screwed up once I got back to working in the round after the heel flap part when I picked up all the gusset stitches because I lost count, and I've got one segment in here where instead of doing it for 8 rounds, I did it for 12. I don't think it's going to matter. Like I can see where it's at, but the average person isn't going to be able to see where it's at. This is a highly variegated yarn also, so patterning, you know, you're not seeing it too clearly. I don't know. Maybe you can see it if I can get it to focus. There we go. You can kind of see the waviness that results from doing that shifted rib, staggered rib. So anyway, I thought I might have this first sock done by this week, but I don't. So I'm probably, let's see, I want to say I'm maybe almost 5 inches into the foot. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, about 5 inches. So I have 4 more inches to go. And then it will be a sock. I don't know. See, that's the thing. I don't know if I'm going to take these socks with me either because they're on metal needles. And I never have any trouble flying with metal needles when I'm flying in the United States. But I'm going to be out of the country. And I just don't know if I want to take that chance because I've heard different people say they've had problems with knitting on international flights. In general, like some countries, I think it's Germany, like they're like, no, you are not knitting on this flight at all. Put it away and pretend like you don't even have it or something, you know. And other ones maybe aren't so bad. I have a friend who flies internationally quite a bit, and she said that she never has a problem. She says they always look at it, but she said she always takes things on wooden needles though. So, and I think that's probably what I'm going to do. I may just take like a hat or something that I can knit on wooden needles, and if they make a fuss about it, like a pair of needles, I'm not going to care if they say get rid of those. You know what I mean? I don't know. Haven't really decided yet. I guess I could switch to wooden needles for a sock, but I don't like any of my sock size wooden needles at all. So anyway, all right, so that was the Neely's Knit sock. And the other one, which you saw last week, is the one that I am doing on the West Yorkshire Spinners Bullfinch colorway. Plain vanilla sock. I have the cuff done, and I believe I had started the heel flap, and I'm doing the heel flap in the coordinating gray, which I think is called Poppy Seed. I don't honestly remember, but it's also West Yorkshire Spinners, and it coordinates specifically with this yarn. So I apparently can't think things through, and I can't even blame this on having vacation brain because I thought about, I planned this several weeks ago to do it this way. I decided, okay, well, I'm just going to do a regular heel flap and heel turn and gusset, and I'll do all of that in the gray, and then I'll pick back up with the Bullfinch. Well, this morning I finished my heel flap, I finished the heel turn, and then I picked up for the gusset, and I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I can't do the gusset decrease section in the gray because it won't just show up on the bottom. Like, if I was doing an afterthought heel, I could, or if I was doing a short row heel, I could, but I wasn't. I wanted to do a heel flap. So it's like, I have to go back to using this yarn, which I had stopped right at the beginning of the gray, so it blends in fine. But yeah, it just wasn't what I had planned. So, well, I'll have a contrasting back of the heel, and the very bottom of the heel will be contrasting. But the rest of the heel will be knit out in the regular yarn. And then when I get to the toe, I'll do the toe in the gray as well. But yeah, I did not think that through very well. And I think it'll look fine. It's not a problem. It just wasn't what I had planned to do, but what I had planned to do would not work. So anyway, both of these pairs of socks are being knit on US 1s because that's my default sock knitting for fingering weight yarn needle. And again, this is the yarns doing the work with the patterning because I love the self patterning yarn. The West Yorkshire Spinners Bird yarns, they're awesome. So anyway, that's it. That's all the knitting that has taken place this week. Yeah. And honestly, most of that has taken place just in the last couple of days because I was super busy up until then getting other things accomplished. So anyway, moving on. I don't have anything new to add to On Deck this week. Like I said, probably I have to do the hot water bottle cozies. Thought about taking those along, but nothing. Oh my goodness. I don't know why she's being so fussy in here today. Anyway, but then I'd have to take a hot water bottle with me too because I need to be able to fit it onto the hot water bottle. It's kind of like making a sweater for a hot water bottle. So I don't think I will take that on vacation. I will probably, charity hats, for the SSK knit along, that is something I definitely could take along. So I may just pull out a pair of 16-inch wooden needles and a couple balls of yarn that I can easily take and do that. And I'm honestly thinking I may just take stuff to do hats because that's easy, mindless knitting. And I might take like one project bag that has a bunch of scrappy yarn in it to do my little granny square Afghan squares, because those are super mindless, super quick. I don't have to think. And I could do those while I'm away too. So I'd have variety, knitting and crochet. And I think that'll be plenty. I honestly do. I'm having a hard time imagining that I'm going to have much time at all to do anything else while I'm there. I'll tell you more about this. It's like I kind of want to wait until after my vacation so I can tell you everything I did, as opposed to telling you now what I think we're going to be doing. Anyway, so yeah, that's it for On Deck. I didn't really think about adding anything else this week. The unofficial Laura Ayler Cal is still going on, and that is something I'm co-hosting with Melissa from the Meltran Designs podcast. I did do a random number generator drawing since I finished another section. So, and I'm doing this all from just the main, there's only one thread for the Laura Ayler Cal. So anytime I do a drawing, it'll be from that thread. This time I actually had to do it more than once because I hit posts that were mine a couple of times, which obviously we don't need. Once your post has been picked for a prize, that post isn't eligible anymore, but you still are if you've posted more than one time. So anyway, but the random number generator picked post number 43, and that is Mary, who is Knitter4753. And I think it was her first post to the Knit Along group. And I think she's also a fairly new member to the group in general. So anyway, congratulations, Mary, Knitter4753. If that is you, please PM me on Ravelry and let me know what pattern that is giftable through Ravelry you would like me to send you for your prize. It can be anything up to $6. It does not have to be a Laura Ayler pattern. It can be any pattern, as long as I can gift it to you through Ravelry. So let me know. And I have not heard from the drawing winner from last episode yet either, from when I finished the whatever section that was that I finished. I think it was the second basket weave section I finished last week, and I did the drawing, and that one was Sally from Idaho. I had drawn number 18. So Sally, if you're watching this week, please PM me because you won a prize last week and I haven't heard from you. Again, same thing. Let me know what pattern you would like gifted to you through Ravelry, up to $6. So, okay. The other thing is I do have the thread up about the mini Mayhem Cal that will be beginning on May 1st and run through the whole month of May. I'll let you can just go to the thread and read the guidelines there. But in general, you know, the whole purpose of the mini Mayhem Cal is it's in May. And we're going to knit mini things. It can be from mini skeins that you have. It can be from leftovers that you have of projects. Whatever. It doesn't matter. The term mini, for the sake of qualifying for the Cal, just means any project that you knit or crochet or whatever. We're keeping it to knitting and crocheting this time, using 100 yards or less of yarn. That would be considered a mini project. And you get 1 point per project, 1 extra point if your project used all Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn for that project. And in this, I don't know if I specified this in the guidelines in that thread. I might have to go check. But if you're doing like a Cozy Memories blanket or whatever, each little square that you knit for that kind of a blanket, or like the granny square blankets that I'm doing, little granny squares, each one of those mini squares, because those are definitely under 100 yards, each one of those will count as an individual point project for this. It's not like the whole entire Afghan. Anyway, there will be prizes based on points, and there will be prizes based on general participation. So yeah, there will be different prizes. So check it out. I hope you'll join in, because we all have minis. We all have leftovers, even if we don't have like actual minis we've purchased. We've got yarn sitting around. So anyway, I'm looking forward to that. The only new thing I have this week, and I didn't even bring it over to show you, I'm sorry, and I didn't ask the person if she cared if I mentioned her name. A very kind viewer wrote to me a couple weeks ago and said, hey, I was watching your episode where you were talking about how you rescue Noro yarn. And when you find it in shops and it's being, you know, discounted or in the sale bin or whatever, and you rescue it, she says, which I do. I am a rescuer for Nora. I like Silk Garden, Curry On, things like that. Mostly those. Anyway, she's like, I have some balls of Nora here that I bought for a project. It didn't work out. They're just sitting here. She's like, if you want them, I would be happy to send them to you. And I'm like, that's so sweet. Yes, I'd love to give them a home. So she mailed them to me. So thank you. Thank you again. I know I've already thanked you, but thank you. I appreciate it. And they're happily nested over here in my bin. It's actually this bin right to the right of those white things, which is where my Nora is living. So they're there with their friends now. So anyway, the only other thing for the 90% is the fact that Maryland Sheep and Wool is coming up. It's in, let's see, not this weekend, not the weekend after that, but the weekend after that. So 2 weekends from now, I get. Well, today's Thursday, so I guess 3 weekends from now, technically. May 7th and 8th. I will be there on the 7th, that Saturday, oohing and awing over the pretty sheep and everything. I know I was just watching Emily from Fibertown, her podcast this morning, her latest episode, and she was talking about the podcaster meetup. It is going to be from 1 to 2, and it's going to be in the 4-H building, which is actually fairly close to when you first go in. When you first go in and you go down like that, I think it's the first main road. It's before, if it's where I'm thinking of, it's before you get to like where all the food vendors are. I think it's up there. Not down the hill by the Lower Corral where we used to meet. We actually get a building this year to meet in. So that's from 1 to 2. You might want to check the Maryland Sheep and Wool board on Ravelry, because I know there is a podcaster meetup thread, so I'm sure all the details will be there. But anyway, so I'm looking forward to that and wandering around, and my friend Bill is going to be there with me, so we'll both be around. He has never been to a fiber festival before, so I will be indoctrinating him into the ways of the fiber. Oh, goodness. Anyway, so yeah, that's coming up. And that's about it. 10%. I've been riding a motorcycle. I'm actually not riding like a huge motorcycle. I've been out twice now since getting my permit. And the first time was just a very short little jaunt, but it was the first time I was on a main road, like an actual road with cars, and I was scared to death. I'm fine while I'm going. It's the stopping and the starting, like having to stop at a specific place in a certain amount of time, and the having to get going in a certain amount of time, especially if there's somebody waiting behind me. That just freaks me out. I know it'll get easier, but that evening I was kind of terrified, but I did fine. I stalled the bike a few times. I think probably every time I tried to start, I stalled it. But I did not drop it, so that's good. Then this past Sunday, we went out. We were out for 4 hours. Only went like 61 miles. But our average speed was about 15 miles an hour because we were on a lot of back roads and dirt roads, and it was more for me to get practice handling the bike, which is fine, and there's no reason to be going super fast. I mean, I think we got up to like maybe 25 miles an hour or something when we were on some more main roads. It still had people passing me, which again, I don't care. I need to focus on what I'm doing. I did okay. I would say halfway through that day, I finally started to feel a little comfortable. Like I felt comfortable with what I was doing. I'd gotten breaking down. Stopping, I was feeling much more confident with the process of stopping. Starting, not as much. Starting going up a hill, definitely not as much. Starting having to make a turn as I start and going up a hill, not at all. Just not at all. No. It's like, are you serious? You want me to do what? And the really funny thing is we have these communicators like in our helmets so we can talk. And he can make sure I'm okay and tell me what's coming up because he always rides ahead of me. He's like, do you want to ride in front? I'm like, no, I want to be able to follow you. And so I forget that I have this, and it's always on. It's not like a you know, I don't have to push a button to talk or anything. Thankfully, that'd be one more thing I'd have to think about. But like, it's always on. So anything I say, even when I'm talking to myself, he can hear. And so, you know, I'll be going on like, oh my God, please do not let me wreck. Please do not. Oh my God. Oh, you know, and be like, are you okay? I'm like, I forgot you could hear that. And I think I mentioned to you the one time when we were out and I was like doing this weird thing with the throttle after I'd already stopped, and I dropped the bike like 3 times that day because of that. Well, I know what I'm doing wrong now, so I'm very cognizant of it, but I caught myself doing it a couple of times the other day. I mean, it didn't go down because of it, because I know how not to do that now, but I caught my hand wanting to do that motion that was triggering my throttle. And I swore quite vehemently at the throttle at one point, like, you! Yeah. And then I remembered he could hear me, and I'm like, I wasn't saying that to you, I was swearing at the bike. He's like, it's okay. He's so patient. Oh my gosh. So I didn't do too badly. I freaked out a couple of times because we got to places where there was like, they were more main roadish, and it was very nice out on Sunday, so there were a lot of people out. And we had to like cross traffic. We weren't really on the roads, but we had to cross roads with traffic on them. And we'd be up there and he'd be like, okay, go now. And I'm like, I don't do now. I do now. And honestly, there were probably a couple of times where I launched and I'm like, God, please don't let somebody kill me, because I have no idea if anything's coming or not. I was pretty sure there wasn't, but it was just like, it's stressful. So I can say I was feeling a little more comfortable, but not confident. I can't say I feel confident yet. It's going to take me a while. I did end up dropping the bike one time this weekend. We were 2 miles from being back at his house, and we were on this dirt road. Okay, so it was a hill, dirt road, and a lot of loose gravel. I've done dirt roads and I've done sort of gravelly roads, but I've never done one with a lot of loose gravel. So this was kind of, had me a little freaked. But basically, I was focusing on where he was going because I was trying to follow the same path so that I'd be okay. You know, I figured that's safe. Well, all of a sudden, over the, you know, the headphone thing, he's like, look where you want to go. Don't look at the big ditch. And I'm like, what? He's like, look where you want to go. Don't look at the big ditch. Because there's this thing called target fixation, where if you look at something, you're going to go there, because it's just the way you do it. I mean, we learn when we're driving cars not to do that. Like, oh, look at the big hillside, you know. Well, in the meantime, I hadn't even realized there was a huge ditch right next to me, because I was so focused on following him. So it wasn't until he said, don't look at the ditch, that I'm like, what ditch? What? It was just like, if you wouldn't have said anything, I'd have been fine. I did avoid the big ditch, got up past the big ditch, still going up a hill, but I was going so slowly because of all the loose gravel that the gravel was just starting to take the front of my bike and make it travel over towards the side of the road, where now there wasn't a big ditch, but there was a hillside, and it was covered in like dead leaves and all this, and it's just like, I didn't want to like go faster because I was on this gravel and I wasn't sure what that would do, and I couldn't get the bike back over it. And it's like, you get to this point where there's just that fine dividing line. It's like, I know I'm going down, and and I did, but I couldn't have picked a better place to go down because I was going so slow, and I fell in a bed of leaves, for Pete's sake. I mean, we had to pick leaves out of the bike and off me, but nothing was hurt. So, but by that time, I was so frustrated. I'm like, I'm tired. I was really tired, and it had been really hot that day. I'm like, I just want to get back to the house. And he's like, okay. He's like, we are less than 2 miles from the house. You just have to, you know, get up here. So he sits the bike up on the middle of the hill in the gravel. I'm like, are you kidding me? You want me to start this bike on a hill in the gravel that I just fell on? He's like, you'll be fine. You can do it. Fine. So this is one of these points where I start talking to myself in my helmet. I'm praying, God, please do not let me wreck this bike again. You know? So this is the closest thing to anybody being inside my brain, is him hearing me as I talk myself through this ordeal. So I start, and it's like, I'm not even going to describe my process, because if you don't ride a bike, you won't understand. If you do ride a bike, you probably know what I'm thinking. Anyway, Like there's this moment between just kind of getting started but not being completely balanced and going yet, and going and you know you're fine. That second moment in there, I hit it and it was like I knew I wasn't going up that hill, and I went into the other hillside and there was a ditch, but I did not let that bike fall. I thought, I am not falling again. I planted I'm getting vigorous here. I planted my feet on the ground and just held the bike there, and he came running back, and he's kind of, I don't think he was laughing. I know he wasn't laughing at me or anything. He's like, what happened? I'm like, take this bike and just get it up to the level for me, please. He's like, okay, it's fine. So he did. And we got back, and I was fine. He's like, do you want to stop for dinner? I'm like, no, I just want to go home. So we did. It was a learning experience. I did learn a lot of new things. I learned how to handle a situation when you're in really loose gravel and you think you're going to fall, and what to do. And counterintuitively, you need to speed up. Yeah, and other things, but it's coming along. I know you guys are probably not at all interested in my motorcycle shenanigans or adventures or whatever we want to call them. At least some of you probably aren't. Some of you might find it fascinatingly humorous, or you might just think I'm crazy. And all of those might be true, honestly. But it's such a new thing for me, I can't help but tell the story. So anyway, been riding. Other than that, it's just been beautiful here. We've had a solid week of weather in the 70s and sunshine and no rain. It's been fantastic. Now, it's supposed to rain a little bit this afternoon, but otherwise, it's been gorgeous. And I've been outside. I mowed my lawn last Friday for the first time this year. Chris helped me, my son helped me bring my yard swing up out of storage. So I've been able to sit out on my swing in my front yard. I power washed the chairs. I washed my windows and put the screens in this weekend. What else? Oh, I cleaned my living room carpet. My living room is the only room that I have carpeting in. And Piddle Pup, who you just saw here with me before, Muffin, she goes for months and months without having any accidents on our carpet, and then all of a sudden she has one, and that just sets her off, and then she keeps having them no matter how much I clean them up. And she did that a lot the last couple of months this winter, and it was like never warm enough for me to actually clean the carpet with, you know, I hate doing that in the middle of winter because it's cold. And so I finally got that done, and then the darn dog peed on the carpet the very next day. Like, I just taken her out not long. It's frustrating. She never lets me know when she has to go out. That was something she never learned because, you know, like I said, she was a rescue dog, and it's infuriating. But anyway, we've got lots of wildlife going on. I don't remember if I told you a couple weeks ago that there was a gray fox at the bottom of my hill. I think I might have mentioned that. I've since come to learn we also have coyotes in the neighborhood, which doesn't surprise me because I know they're kind of in the area, but apparently they killed a bunch of chickens at a house down the road, so they're around. They haven't come and taken my dog yet. No, that's mean. I didn't mean that. I'm just kind of mad at her right now. There was a huge pileated woodpecker in my backyard. I see them up in the trees a lot. If you've ever seen any of my pictures of my backyard on Instagram, you know that I live kind of on a hill. My house is on a hill, but the house is towards the top. My whole backyard is a hill. And then at the bottom, the lowest part of my yard is all wooded. And so there's a tree line. Well, right at the base of the tree line is a huge old log. It's been there forever. It's probably been there for as long as we've had the house, frankly. It's, you know, overgrown with weeds and briars and stuff like that. But at this time of year, you can definitely identify the log laying there. And, you know, a lot of the neighborhood cats go down there and they sit on this log because then they can, like, stalk the chipmunks and squirrels and birds and everything. So I know what a cat looks like sitting on this log, okay? Well, I was looking out my kitchen window the other day, which looks out over the backyard. I'm like, what is sitting on that log? Because it wasn't a cat. I'm like, that's a bird of some sort. And at first I thought, is it a turkey? Because we do have wild turkeys around here too. But I'm like, no, that's way too small to be a turkey. But it's a really, really big bird. And then I realized it was a pileated woodpecker. It was like the head had the red, you know, going on. It was bigger than a cat. Like if a cat would have been sitting next to it, the cat would have been dwarfed. This is how big this bird was. It was quite plump too. It was funny because seeing them up in the trees, you don't have, anything for scale really, but seeing it sitting down there, and he was pecking away at that log and getting all kinds of tasty bugs, I'm sure. But seeing him sitting there gave me a better idea of how huge he is. It's like, wow. So that was pretty cool. We saw deer and bunnies when we were out on the bikes. Thankfully they did not run out in front of me. But yeah, wildlife is just gone crazy around here lately because it's so pretty out. Anyway, what else? I did start reading or listening to a new book. It's called Cow Country by Adrienne Jones Pearson, which is apparently a pseudonym for whoever the real author is, and there's massive speculation in the literary world about who it is. The book is kind of funny. I mean, it's meant to be funny. It's outrageous in just the goofy scenario. I mean, it's about this guy who is hired as an administrator at this little community college in Cow Country, in Cow-I, wherever. Cow-I is the name of the town. Cow-I, like I. And just, you need to go and read the synopsis, of the book on Amazon or something. It's ridiculous. It's like outrageous in the ridiculousness of some of the stuff that they tell, and it's just funny. It's funny. I can only listen to it in short blurbs because after a while I'm like, oh my gosh, really? And there's a lot of very dry wit embedded into a lot of the telling of the story. So I'm enjoying it. I haven't been listening to it nonstop the way I had been listening to some other stuff, but I'm enjoying it. So it's there. Yep. 2 days till vacation. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. This time on Saturday, I will either be in the Atlanta airport or I'll be in the air. I don't remember, actually. I have the schedule somewhere. It's actually hanging right in front of me, but it's really small print and I can't see. So anyway, my final destination is Antigua. So yay, I have never been to the Caribbean before. So this is going to be a brand new adventure for me, but lots of really cool, fun activities planned, and I will tell you all about them when I get back. And hopefully I'll have some pictures to share as well. So anyway, that's it for the 10%. I don't really have much to say in the line of shop news just because not much is going to be going on with the shop since I'm going on vacation. I can tell you that the first round of sock blanks for the Knitter's Choice Sock Blank Club shipped out on Tuesday, so you should be getting those soon. I would think the first ones would probably be arriving today, most likely, to the closest places. So, yay. I will be invoicing. Most people did the pay in advance for the whole club, but there's a few people who didn't, and so I will be invoicing the second shipment probably tomorrow for that. Then, let's see. Thank you for your input on the crowdsourcing colorway thread in the Fiber Nymph Dye Works group about the grocery list. Feel free to continue to add to that because I'm going to leave it up until I get back, but that's been very helpful. I'm looking forward to putting that colorway together, and I will definitely be using input from that thread. Thank you also to everyone who shopped my last update, which was last Saturday, not Friday. It was the favorites update, and y'all liked a lot of the favorites. They went pretty fast, so thank you so much for that. The next update will be on Friday, May 6th, so the day before Maryland Sheep and Wool, which I realize if you're going to Maryland Sheep and Wool, you're probably not going to be looking online the night before for yarn, but if you're not going to Maryland, there will be yarn in the shop. It's going to be a fairly small update, though, because I'm not going to have a lot of time to get stuff dyed between now and then. I have some things ready already. There will be stitch markers, a new batch of stitch markers in that update. I'll have some more sock blanks. But other than that, I'm not entirely sure how much yarn there will be. But there will be some, so check it out. However, I will be leaving the shop open while I'm away. There's already a message up at the top of the shop page letting you know, letting you know that the shop, we're going to be away from the shop basically from the 22nd through the 30th. I'm actually not leaving until the 23rd, but if you order something at like 10 o'clock p.m. on the 22nd, there's no way I'm going to be able to get that mailed to you before I leave. So I just gave myself a buffer of a day. But anything that if you do place an order while I'm away, it will ship out that first Monday after I get back, which is Monday, May 2nd, I believe. So anyway, yeah, it'll be there. And I guess that's it. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my notes. I thought there was one more thing on my list, but there's not. So anyway, I'm going to stop. We've got this at 45 minutes, which is a fairly decent number for one with not a whole lot of content, I guess. It felt like there wasn't a lot of content, but I guess there was. A lot of motorcycle antics to share with you, if nothing else. So you can laugh at my motorcycle ineptitude. Anyway, I am signed up to take a motorcycle safety course later this summer, though, so I will be doing the whole safety and riding thing after I at least figure out how to ride first. So, all right, well, that is everything, and I will see you when I return from my trip. Hopefully, I will be tanner than I am now and not crispy critter burnt. I'm really going to try not to do that. Yeah. So anyway, I hope you have a great couple of weeks, and I'll see you on my return. Take care. Bye.